Hello everyone, today is May 4th, and in 1776, the colony of Rhode Island renounced its allegiance to King George III, becoming the first American colony to do so. At the time, Rhode Island had an extremely lucrative slave and molasses trade, and they were angry at the British over unfair taxes. The Declaration came exactly 2 months before the Declaration of Independence was adopted by the Continental Congress, and ironically, Rhode Island would be the last state to ratify the Constitution, because they didn't want to lose income to the new federal government for import duties. But they finally got on board and signed after it was pointed out that their costs would be much higher if they were treated as a foreign country. And in 1886, what starts out as a peaceful protest turns into a deadly riot with over 100 people injured and 8 police officers dead at Haymarket Square in Chicago. They had gathered to advocate a mandatory 8-hour workday, and as the final speaker was finishing, police officers forced their way to the stage, and somewhere in the melee, someone threw a bomb into the crowd. After the explosion, the officers started shooting indiscriminately into the mass of people, and a riot quickly ensued. The public was led to believe that the officers were killed in the blast, but it turned out that 7 of the 8 who were killed, and a majority of the 60 police officers injured, were caused by their fellow officers firing into the crowd. Despite a lack of evidence linking them to the bomb, 8 radicals were tried and convicted of conspiracy. Even though the prosecution conceded that none of them had thrown the bomb, 7 received the death penalty, and 1 got 15 years. 4 of them were executed, and another committed suicide. The rest were pardoned and released after serving 7 years. This event is also regarded as the origin of international May Day holidays for workers, or as we call them now, the 99%. In 1942, the United States begins the rationing of food in preparation for the lengthy war ahead, nearly 6 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor. It started out with sugar and went on to include limiting things like meat, butter, cheese, fruits and vegetables, soups, baby food, and ketchup. Rationing officially ended in 1946, and Americans celebrated by gorging themselves with the newly unrestricted foods and haven't stopped since. In 1970, a group of anti-war demonstrators on the campus of Kent State University defy a ban on rallies and gather to protest the Vietnam War and the recent invasion of Cambodia. The National Guard was on hand to make sure there was no repeat of a riot on campus 2 days earlier, and they quickly ordered the crowd to disperse. When they refused, they fired tear gas at the students and advanced with their bayonets fixed on their rifles. Some protesters refused to yield and started throwing rocks and taunting the troops before 28 guardsmen opened fire, killing 4 students, wounding 8, and permanently paralyzing another. The shooting caused a major uproar during already tense times as the Vietnam War was becoming less and less popular. A criminal investigation in the shooting ended when a federal court dropped all charges against 8 of the National Guardsmen. And in 1994, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat signed a historic accord for Palestinian autonomy. This allowed Palestinian self-rule of the Gaza Strip and the city of Jericho in the so-called Land for Peace deal, which included an Israeli military withdrawal from around 60% of Gaza, with the exception, of course, being Jewish settlements. The Palestinians agreed to combat terror and prevent violence against Israelis, but neither side really lived up to their obligations, and they're still fighting over the land to this day. Well, that's it for today, but be sure to stop by tomorrow for more on this day in history.